It's my pleasure to welcome sixth in the world, Samson Dauda. Samson, how does it sound? Sixth in the world.
Man, it sounds amazing, man. Honestly, that's something that I think we never saw coming anytime soon. So it's an honor, really.
Did it came sooner than you expected?
Oh yeah, definitely, definitely. Like I said, going to this Olympia, you know what I was saying? Everybody was like, "Oh, what do you think you're gonna come?" And I was like, "Look, especially with this lineup the way it was, I was like, man, if I make top 10 of your first Olympia, that'll be fine. I'll be gladly and happy with that. So to come up sick, it's like okay, that's definitely an awesome start.
Yeah, when people compare you to a mini Ronnie Coleman, don't you
Oh.
feel like I
Ah,
I feel myself that you don't want to be compared. You just want to be
no.
yourself. You
Yep.
want to create Samson Dauda legacy,
Yeah.
not Ronnie Coleman.
And this is it. So, people always want to compare bodybuilders to another. But I'm like, nah, man, you're just you. Your physique will never be the same as his. His physique will never be there. Your physique will never be as someone else's. You're just you. And all you're trying to do, you're trying to build your own legacy. You know, yeah, there might be similarities here and there, but it doesn't matter. All you want to do is be you and build your own legacy. So when I see that comparison, it always makes me feel a bit like, oh, cringe and stuff. I'm like, nah, not really what I want.
Yeah, about being yourself. We will skip to Arnold for a second, then we'll come back to the subject which I wanted really highly to start with. But
Yeah.
being yourself, are you going to play your game as you have with Milos coming to the Olympia? Or do you want to play someone else's game, like come too peeled, come too big, and so on?
Yeah, because the thing is, this is the thing, because I want to play my game. I know that, I mean, we've proven that whatever it is that we do is working. Something the judges like, something that's working. Yes, doesn't mean that I'm not gonna try to be more conditioned with every show I go to. I try to be better in every way than every show I go to. But if same time, if I should have said, okay, you know what, give up all that, be as straight as you can, don't worry about it, and just come down and do everything else. What ends up, especially with my look, what ends up happening is, yes, I might get dry as hell and shredded as hell, but what happens is that pop and that roundness and that full overwhelming wow when I walk out, I lose that. And all of a sudden, yeah, I might be more conditioned, but it doesn't look as impressive. So it's like you're trying to play the balance of the sort of, okay, right, your biggest strength is that big, round, aesthetic look. And the more you have that, the more it's like, wow, it's overwhelming. Yes, you're going to have guys that are always going to be more shredded than you. Hell, I had guys that were placing behind me that was way more shredded than I was. But this is my strength. This is my game I have to play. So it's just having to stick to that and not fall into the idea of, oh man, just be more shredded, just be more shredded, just be more this or just be more bigger. Anything? No, man, we only play in our game because it's different if we weren't getting the results that we were hoping for. Then I'll be like, okay, I need to try something else. Well, until that happens, it's working. Why change it?
Yeah, because people always come with this, as you said, this stupid conclusion like come more peeled. Don't you think that we are them trying to do
Yep.
so?
Yep.
We are trying to do it.
And it's such an irritating thing because they don't understand how frustrating it gets, because you go through a whole prep and you're pushing yourself and pushing your boundary and you're dying and doing everything else. And someone self sees you for 10 minutes and you go, oh, just come more peeled. And you're thinking, you know what I've been trying to do the last freaking 6 to 7 months? Do you know what I've been putting myself through just to have just to get that in the last 6 months? You don't just snap your fingers one day and go, oh, here you go. So it can be very frustrating. It can be very irritating. And because it's like, you don't know, you're seeing someone there for like 10 minutes, but you don't know what they had to go through to get right there. So sometimes it's like, just have a little patience and just look at the guy in front of you and just like judge him as he is right there and say, look, he's only going to improve from there.
People haven't asked you yet about your upbringing, and have you always been such a hard worker? Because you you are an example of guy who just whatever happens, he keeps working.
Yeah,
Japan, you kept working.
yeah,
Whatever problem it seems to have happened to you, you
yeah.
kept going on.
Yeah, because I think that's pretty much me my whole life, because like I said, like I didn't go to uni. I didn't have the biggest education. I wasn't blessed with like this business mind and this sort of thing that people had this goal. Even when I was in my early 20s, I didn't know what I wanted to do in my life. I didn't have this set plan of I want to be this, I want to be a doctor, I want to be a surgeon, I want to be this, I didn't have that. And it's only until that I finally discovered bodybuilding that I saw a sport that I genuinely say, okay, I think I want to do this for a living. I think I can do this for a living. So even though I've always worked hard on my life, I've never had a full purpose to fully commit to until this. So where I've kind of just got on with just, okay, just work hard. There's nothing, you don't know what you want, you don't know what you're going to get, but just work hard anyway. So that's what, throughout my upbringing, this is all I've ever been able to do. So when you all of a sudden now have a purpose, that hard work now has a channel. You're not just working hard for the sake of working hard. I've done jobs, I've done the craziest jobs and the craziest things all through where, I've given everything just to work hard for the littlest of reward. So for me, working hard is it just comes to me. That's what I do. But when you all of a sudden give me a target and say, okay, if you work hard enough, you can achieve this. All of a sudden that motivation, that hunger goes to another level. That's when I really like, yeah, okay, now I'm ready to really work because I have a full force on a target now.
Yeah, because we spoke with Marlenka before you came, and we came to the same ideology that people always forget what happened before. They forget that before the Japan, you worked like 12 hours a day.
Oh, yeah.
I don't remember. You were a mechanic, something like this?
Yeah, I was a construction worker. I was working for a solar farm in a solar field in the middle of nowhere out the sticks, working under every single weather, from the snow to the heat in summer, out in the field, fixing solar panels and stuff like that. And it was a grueling job. And before that, I was working on a construction site doing building work. Before that, it's always been those kind of serious manual labor jobs. And what I was, obviously, when we started bodybuilding, it was a case of, okay, you're working both that's full-on manual labor job where it's tasking in the best days. And you're leaving there after working, 8, 9, 10 hours, and then going home and then going straight to the gym to sort of try to build this body in the most crazy scenario they've ever been, So this is what, I've always kind of had to do to balance things out. And then now the last 2 years, people come say, oh man, you just blown up. Everything's just changed. And you kind of smile and going, you know what, it was only because I've just got given the opportunity to not do that, to focus purely on this. That's what the biggest change has been. But it's people, they tend to not know what happened beforehand. They just see what's happening now, so it's always crazy.
Being under Milos, you do still work out twice a day plus doing the cardio?
Yeah, so I'll do the cardio in the morning and then train later on in the evening.
Yeah, that's what I meant, because once you went through those labor works, you are now like, okay, that doesn't seem this hard.
It's because even like the first month or so, when I finally got a chance to do this full time and not have to go to work, and not have to wake up and go to get ready, wake up 5 a.m. in the morning to get ready to go to work. And, even then you were throwing in cardio before you go to work. And then you were having a full day of work, coming home, 7 o'clock in the evening and then going to the gym. Even then, it was already a struggle, but it was like, okay, you're making it through. So when they took that out, it just feels like, man, okay, it felt weird. It felt like, oh, is that it? Like, okay, not shitting on it, but this is easy. Like, this is like, you've taken the most biggest hassle of my day out of it. You've told me, oh, just work and do nothing else, just train. And, I'll say to Milos sometimes, even now when I'm prepping, I'll say, Milos, I'm tired, I'm sleeping all through the day. And Milos like, good, just sleep. And I'm like, for a person that is always go, work, all that thing. Come on, man, be a man, drive. To all of a sudden turn, oh, no, you can just sit down and sleep. Don't worry about it. That's what we want you to do. It's weird. It's not something you quickly switch on to. You understand the rest increases your chance of growing muscles and increases your body. You know that you're still part of the job, but to tell me to just, don't worry, just sleep, rest, grow, don't worry about it. It's not something you're used to. It's not something, I can tell you now, it's not something. And for the first month, I felt very weird even being at home and not going to work in the morning, because I was thinking, I would go outside for an afternoon walk and I would feel very bad because I think, man, my neighbors must think I'm skiving off work, I'm lazy or something like that, because it didn't feel normal to be sitting at home and not having a job to go to, So yeah, it's definitely a big change.
The first parts of the prep, didn't they? The change of the job, didn't it impact you? Like, okay, you are at home, sometimes you are bored. The hunger hits you more then, because your mind is focused on the food.
Yes, because now you're sitting at home and when you're at home a lot, you tend to just binge and eat and just pick things and walk to the kitchen 500 times, opening kitchen cupboards over and over, just looking for. So when the prep hits you and you're starving and you're sitting at home, you have nothing to think about but food. So you're now like, okay, how long to my next meal? Oh God, okay. And then you're thinking about it and thinking about it. Well, before when you were working, had things to do, it distracts you and you're come distracted and like, okay, you're focused on something else. And it's, oh, it's time for my next meal. Even though you're starving and you're hungry, because you're focused on something else, you don't think about it so much. You just, oh, okay, and you get your meals in. But when you're sitting there and you're bored and you're hungry, yeah, you tend to feel every minute go by.
Yeah, you became a motivation and an inspiration for many people. Most of them, let's be honest, didn't believe in you. They didn't believe in Nick as well, because I want to move to Nick, rivalization with Nick, because they scratched both of you. They said that you are never going to be this and that. And suddenly you are now, both of you, contenders to win Arnold Classic. To be honest, it's between you, him, and there are three more really strong competitors, which is Bonak, Sean, and Andrew.
Oh, yeah.
Can you beat Nick, and how?
Oh, yes. I think I definitely can beat him. You know, if it was any other show, I'll think if it was like, okay, the New York or even the Olympia, then I would think, okay, you know what, it'd be a very thin order. I'll be like, okay, for me to sort of beat him, I have to not just match him and be more bigger than I was. I have to be more tighter than I was, a lot more tighter than I was, you know. But this one is Arnold. You know, it's Arnold. There's a lot more dynamics to what's, you know, Arnold's judging like in criteria-wise to any other show. And I know what this one is, like you said, it's not about trying to play a different game. It's about just bettering your game, you know. So if you come in the same size you were at Olympia, just come in slightly more tighter and then show your physique in your best way, you will get reward and you will get passing. And this is all you need to do. You don't need to overthink it. You don't need to over-try it. You don't need to push it, because the same thing is like, if I kind of like do what most people kind of suggest, just be very tight and whatever. If I shredded up and came in tighter and everything else, I bet you anything, my position will slip, you know, because the look that's so impressive, the look that everybody sort of looked at the Olympia and go, whoa, what the hell? He's as big as Rami, he's as big as what the hell? If all that goes, all of a sudden you're left with a guy that's aesthetic, but not a freak anymore. He's not big, he's nothing, he's just shredded aesthetic. And then you know that one, Nick will walk all over that. Like, it's nothing, because you're not going to be as hard as him, put it that way. You're not going to outcondition Nick. You know, so why try to chase his game when you know you're not going to do it? You're a shape guy. You're a round, big shape guy. Play your game. Bring as tight as you can bring it, but play your game and don't chase his, because if you do, he will beat you. He will beat you hands down. So this is exactly what even Milos, my coach, he says the same thing. Going, your strength is this. If we try to obviously, just suck you down more and everything, if you lose the pop and the wow factor you had in Olympia, that's it. What's left? You know. So it's playing your game and playing to your strength. And I think if we do that, for a fact, we will beat him.
As you said, people don't understand there are different criteria to the Arnold Classic. There is a posing routine, which is being counted. Yes. And there is extra money for the posing routine. It's like 20,000, I think.
Yeah, I think it's 10,000 for the winner of the posing routine. So
yeah, and the symmetry round is as well being judged, I think.
Symmetry is being judged. So yeah, exactly. So you see, this is why Arnold is different. This isn't Arnold, so you have to play to your strength, and symmetry, posing, aesthetic is what we do best. So this one, we have to highlight that extremely well on that stage to make it go right. The only thing he has will be, okay, he outconditions us. What about everything else? So this is the strength we have to play to.
Yeah, speaking about there will be like two teams of guys, you and Andrew Jack. We're going to be aesthetics, as you said, because you both brought it. You both showed. Andrew is going to probably be a little bit more sharp, as you are as well.
Yep.
And there will be three guys with Sean, Nick, and Bonak. So
exactly,
it's either going to be you and Andrew or three of them.
And this is it. And this is all you can sort of hope for. And, this one is going to be, okay, right, what will the judges' criteria be? If they pick that way, I'm not going to stand there and go, oh, what the hell, No, I'm like, okay, completely understand. I can see where they went to. At the same time, if they pick more aesthetic guys, I'm like, okay, I understand. So you have to bring the best of yours and let the judges decide, because that's all you can do. You can't, hope for your, like control the judges and tell them what you want them to pick. They decide. You bring your best and let them pick. Let them choose, okay, what sort of look do we prefer? So I think this is all you can do, especially coming in this show, especially where the lineup is in this show, is okay, they either go for that or they go for us. So that's it.
When speaking about the posing routine, as you saw basically in this interview, yeah. I have been jumping around the people. I have spoken about Marlenka firstly, because she is your biggest support since the beginning. Oh, yeah. We spoke about Milos. We're going to speak about them all as a team. Yeah. But there is one guy who we should speak about, and John, who passed away. He was the first one who really, I think, believed in you and showed you that you can be higher than you yourself expect to be.
Oh, yeah. Let's say end of 2020, and then we had the whole corona and everything else, and it was a difficult year. And, 2020 for me was basically that year where I said, you know what, if bodybuilding wasn't working out, I was spending a lot of money. I was in debt. I was really going for, giving all I got, as well. Like you said, at the time I was working a full-time job, hours upon hours. And when you kind of look at your life and you think, okay, look, I'm doing all these things, I'm working my ass off, but there's nothing really to show for it. It sort of puts things in priority, and you kind of think, okay, right, am I being silly? Should I be focusing my energy somewhere else? So basically, after the beginning of 2020, we sort of said, look, I said to myself, look, if it doesn't work out this year, if we don't break through this year and bodybuilding don't start paying for itself, I'm not going to do it anymore. This will be my final year. So that was how we started 2020. And then obviously Corona hit and made it really more difficult and really made it the hardest year possible for bodybuilding. So kind of went through that, and obviously went to Korea and everything else, and things sort of just worked out. But at the same time, we didn't get a show placing that was warranted of that. If anything, we probably slipped a bit. So coming up to the end of 2020, I was kind of like in that point, I was like, man, if I'm going to carry on this one, I really don't know what to do. Good thing at the time, I got signed with Hostile, and, Fuad basically believed in me then. And he basically said to me, okay, you know what, Sam, you're not doing nothing wrong. You're working hard. You're doing everything you can do. But you probably just need somebody to guide you. You just need a different hand to guide you. And he recommended, said, look, I worked with John in the past, and I think he would definitely be a coach that might suit you. So coming in 2021, I reached out to John, and John basically said, yeah, okay, let's have a look at you and let's see. And, and I saw a pose for him and everything else, and he couldn't believe his eyes. He was like, dude, where have you been? Like, what's it? And I was like, I'm here, I'm doing, guys in the US, they don't really pay that much attention to guys in Europe. So he saw me and he's like, okay, you know what? We can work with this. So went through a whole off season with John, and, he put me in practice, give me his plan and everything else. And we started growing and we started improving drastically in areas. And then we picked out a show, which was the Arnold UK, to start prepping for. So John sort of said, okay, that'll be the show. And he basically made me go from, okay, this, I don't know if I can carry on doing this, to, you know what, start believing in yourself, because I think that you're going to shock the world. And I remember every time I have a conversation, he kept on going, oh, I can't wait for the world to see you. They're going to be shocked. You're going to really shake the world up. Bodybuilding, they don't already what's coming. And I saw that sounds nice. It's pretty, but, okay. But, you kind of think your coach is expected to say that. So you don't really take it too seriously. You kind of like, okay. But each time, he kept on telling it and drumming it in my ear and say, look, don't worry, just trust me. You're going to shock people. You're going to be amazing. And slowly I started believing in it, and slowly started building my confidence back up in the idea of, okay, there is something there. You can show something. There is something there. So when we finally picked out the show to prep for the Arnold Classic in the UK, we started our prep. Everything was going absolutely spot on. John was happy. Every time he checked my progress, he was like, yeah, that's it. So we started, going through it, all the way from 16 weeks, 10 weeks, got to about 8 weeks out. And I remember speaking to him on the Saturday when we were about 8 weeks out. And I kind of spoke to him the Saturday, and I was like, he was excited, and he was, just John, man. He was like, yeah, okay, yeah, this is it. I think you're going to do great, man. I can't wait. This is going to be awesome. And I remember the Friday before that, he did a podcast, and he was saying about, yeah, I have this guy in the UK, Samson Dauda. he's going to shock the world, man. He's going to be in the 2022 Olympia. You can't wait till you see him. He's going to shock the world. And then obviously I spoke to him on Saturday, and that was it. And then Sunday, we had a normal Sunday. Everything went fine. And then Sunday night, I'm sorry, Sunday evening, somebody basically messaged me and they said, "Oh, my condolences," and I was like, what the hell are you talking about? So I'm switching on the news. I'm trying to wonder what's this all about, and then I open social media and I see the passing of John Meadows. And I was just speaking to him the night before, and it was like, nah, this has got to be a problem. It's got to be a joke. It's got to be a scam. It's got to be something, So I'm backwards and forward, and I'm trying to get information, trying to find out what's going on. And, I called Fuad up, and he's like, yeah, John's gone. And what that does to you, what that really does to you, it breaks you inside out. It crushes you like you won't believe. And you sort of have this feeling of emptiness afterwards that just leaves you like just shocked. And you're sitting there thinking, this can't be real. This just can't be happening. It's not, it doesn't feel right. It feels really wrong. It feels like it's just not justice. Like, John is one of the golden-hearted people. He was one of the people that truly cared. John, he took me up. He never charged me for anything. He never had an intent of anyway. He just like, look, I just think you're going to be great. So I'm going to help you get there, and that was all it was. So he really, really wanted to see me do well. He really wanted that, and it was awesome. It was really awesome. So to have someone that committed and that good, just out like that, it's hard, man. It really crushes you, man. It makes you think, man, I'm just done with this. I can't keep going with the world like this anymore. And, it really kind of broke me. So after that, I was like, you know what, I'm done. I'm not doing any more show anymore. I'm just done. I can't do this, So fast forward a few days and everything starts cooling. And so I started getting a lot of messages of people, and people were like, you know what, man, you and John have been working all summer, all through the winter, all year to bring Packet, and he really believed in you. Why don't you just, finish what you started, man? Don't give up. Just do it for him. Just finish what you started. That's all you got to do. Just finish it. After you do that, you don't have to even carry on. Just finish this prep that you started with John, because he really believed in you. So I was like, okay, you know what? Eventually, speaking to a few people, we finally kind of like, okay, you know what? Maybe I should just finish up. So I basically called. I was like, okay, if I was going to do this, I need help. There's no getting away from it. I need help. I can't do this alone. So I remember, like, every time I used to have a conversation with John, and John always used to mention Milos, and he used to always mention that, oh yeah, he has a conversation about me with Milos. Milos thinks this, Milos thinks that, and he always sort of follows that sort of dynamic of thing. And I think, okay, you know what? If there's any coach that probably could sort of pick up where John left off, would be him. So I basically messaged Milos and I said to him like, yo, excuse me, man, I don't know if you know me, I'm Samson Dauda. I was working with John, and basically everything that's happened, we were 8 weeks out from a show, and this has happened, and I need help. And can you do anything can you help me? And straight away, Milos was like, yo, for John, let's do it. So right from there, right from the spot, he was like, okay, show me what you got. Show me what you're doing. And I sent it all to him and everything else. And right from the spot, Milos starts working with me. And it starts pulling through, and we start going through. And then obviously we made it to the Arnold Classic. We came second. And then Milos was like, okay, let's keep going. John said he wanted you in 2022 Olympia. We ain't gonna stop until we make it to that Olympia. You ready to work? I'm like, let's do it. Let's do it. That's what I do. So we sat there, we say, you know what? We will do every single show from now till then until we make it to Olympia. We will not stopping for nobody. So straight after that, we went to Italy, came third, went to Egypt, came third again. I was like, okay, let's keep going. Every week after we were traveling, we're hitting shows after shows. And then the final show in Prague came up, and, Milos looked at his strategy and what we've been doing the shows before, and he goes, okay, you know what? I keep trying to bring you tight. I keep trying to bring you harder and drier and harder and drier. And every time you seem to just fall short, because then he goes, Prague, fuck it, let's just go heavy. I'm going to carb you up to the max. Let's bring you as big and as full as we can. Forget it. Let's just go. So I was like, okay. So Milos, he has me eating so much food, carving me up, so much food. I was like, oh my God, this is scary now. I remember the night before the show, I looked so big and so watery that I was thinking, man, this is gonna end up really bad tomorrow. And obviously the program lineup was crazy. I mean, we had Rolly, we had Nathan, we had Regan, we had Raphael. You know, this was a deep lineup. And I was thinking, okay, if all the shows I've just lost with these guys, every single show coming here, and I'm thinking, what, do you really think I'm going to beat them now? So for me, I was thinking, I don't know. But then I was like, well, if there's any show you're going to go for the walls and try something new, this is it. Might as well, you know. So we basically, he carved me up so much and really pushed so much food in me. So, okay, cool. So woke up the morning of the show and he looked at me he goes, you're going to win this show. I'm like, you kidding? He goes, no, you're going to win this show. I was like, let's see. So we went out, we did the pre-judging, and the pre-judging was me, Regan, Nathan, and Raphael, 4-man call out, and we're swapping backwards and forward, and they going, Steve is giving us the call out. And then, you know, I come back after the pre-judging, and I'm leaving the stage, and I'm thinking, okay, so I'm either fourth or first, I have no idea, I don't know. You know, my in-laws is on the phone to me, it's like, no, you're winning. I'm like, yeah, but because Steve is not making it clear. He's mixing the call out so much that we don't know where we are. And he's like, no, you're winning this call out. I want you to go back to the hotel, lay down, have some food, just don't do anything, just sleep off, have some food, and we'll get ready for the finals in the evening. So we went back to the hotel. I remember being in the hotel then trying to sleep. The thing is, people don't know how hard it is when you have pre-judging in the morning and the finals in the evening, and you're fighting for that spot. Mentally, it's the biggest, toughest battle of your life. And you sitting there, you're thinking, oh God, okay, don't screw anything up. Don't screw up. And you're thinking, oh, should I get drier? Should I get fuller? And you try to change things to try to make you better. And you sort of, your mind is everywhere, and you're trying to switch that voice off and just say, relax, it's okay, relax. But yeah, you're so excited, you're so in that moment of, okay, what can I do? What can I do? What can I do? You know, and you're always in that mood. So sitting there, we were laying there, and I remember I had to switch my phone off and just go to sleep because I just couldn't. I was like, okay, just switch off and just go to sleep. So we kind of rest up, slept for a few hours, woke up looking better as well. I mean, I was like, okay, let's go. So we went back and we did the finals. And after we'd gone through the round for round the finals, and at this point, I think I felt more relaxed, and I felt like, you know what, I've done my best. I don't, you know, at this point, hell, whatever happens, happens. I've done my best. So obviously the results come out, and Nathan's fourth, and I'm like, holy shit. I'm like, whoa, okay, that's a shock. Okay, all right. Regan comes third. I'm like, damn, that's two guys that just beat me the last two shows. I'm like, okay. So it's me and Raphael, and then they call Raphael for second. And at that very moment, it felt like every single thing you've ever done, all that hard work, all that grinding, South Korea, moving over here, working full time, losing job, everything you've done, all that fight you had to keep going through, everything over and over, and you just kept on going, nope, I'll just keep fighting, I'll keep working. That moment, it was like, congratulations, we saw you. Yeah, you did it. And, you know, for me, that was it. And it just felt like I hit the floor and I just felt, oh my God, finally we did it. Finally, it's proved that I'm not wrong. Hard work does pay off. You just have to be patient and hold on in there. So yeah, that was my moment. And, you know, as you said, John said you're going to make 2022 Olympia. And yeah, that was the moment I was like, man, John, you hit the nail right on the head with that one, you know.
I remembered when people, because I didn't watch Arnold live, I had something to do, and people just messaged me like, watch the posing routine, watch the posing routine.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Why should I watch it? Because I love the posing routines, and why it's finally someone came with something different than usually, because you know how most of the routines work. But this Olympia, it was actually really, really good. I like Nick's routine, Derek's routine, Andrew, yours. There were plenty. But I remember when people used to message me like, watch Samson's routine. And I was like, okay. And then I just shut for a minute and I was just staring at my phone like, what? The emotions that, it was just tough, you know. And
you know, I remember when there was one day I was walking my dog, and this was obviously a few weeks. I think we were about 4 weeks after John passed, and we were thinking, okay, Arnold UK is coming up. what routine are we going to do? And I'm walking with Mel, my dog, and I'm thinking, and literally from nowhere, it popped in my head. And I was like, I know John did a podcast the Friday before, and it literally just came together. And I was like, okay. So I basically went back and I said, I got a good idea. I got something that I really want to do. This one is going to be literally dedicated to John. I got to make it happen and really show what he did for me and really thank him for what he did for me. And I think this is what definitely come together. So we took put out the voices from the podcast and we took a song and we mixed it together. And he was like, I remember even the posing routine itself, I never really practiced it much. You know, I like, you know what, I sort of had ideas what moves I wanted to do, but I never practiced it. And one of the reasons was that because I wanted to make it raw. I wanted to make it like not rehearsed, not, okay, yeah, I've done this over and over again. I want to make it feel raw when I get on stage. I want to make people feel like whatever is going on, they feel like, yeah, right now in that moment, you really feel it. So I remember when that time came up and I was standing backstage and the song came up and I heard John's voice and he was like, okay, you know what? Show the world what he means to you. And when I came out to that routine, it was just the raw emotion of, okay, this is what this is truly meant. And, I was glad that, even, I remember even like Fuad, he wasn't watching the song, but his missus called him and said, look, Fuad, you need to watch this routine. You knew what Samson routine. And she was crying. And Fuad was like, what's going on? What's going on? And he watched it and he was like, oh, they were watching, they were crying. They were like, man, what that really meant. And it was definitely one of those special moments where you're thinking, yeah, man, you did it just because you want to really bring out our emotions at the time,
Yeah, so, the song, the Unsteady.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Yeah, I remember it. Speaking about the team, we have mentioned already Marlenka. We have spoken about Milos. Milos, as Jay loves to call him, John. Oh, yeah. And there is one more guy who we should mention because Fuad, he is some kind of a mentor, I think.
Oh, yeah, he definitely is. He definitely is, I mean.
How did you guys came together? Like, how did you...
So basically, when we were in Korea, when I was in South Korea, and obviously I was in quarantine in the hotel room, like, one thing is when people don't know that when I went to South Korea, I didn't let my job didn't know I was going to South Korea, I mean, because it was a heated time of Corona and everything else. So they weren't happy with the idea of me actually traveling away. So I just told them, okay, I'm gonna have some time off. So went to South Korea. And then the first week I was there, it was all quiet, nobody knew and everything else. And then what happened is the promoters of the show that I was doing there, they basically said, look, we're trying to promote the show. And we said, you're here to compete. And nobody believes that I'm in South Korea. So he's like, okay, can you do a quick video and just saying like you're in South Korea, whatever. And I was like, yeah, sure. So I did a video and they posted it up. And right away, I didn't see it. The thing is, I didn't see a big deal in it. I was like, okay, I'm quarantining and then I'm do the show. I didn't really, I was trying to run on the spot and do everything to keep in shape for the show, but I didn't really see much of a big deal. And I was like, look, it's something that was, for me personally, a challenge. So being in that situation and be able to go down, I was like, look, whatever happens, I'm going to be able to tell someone that, no, you ain't going to guess what I did. This is crazy, But I didn't see it much more bigger than that. So when he obviously came out, people lost their minds and they were like, man, what the hell? What are you doing in South Korea? And I was getting called left and right, like, are you really in a hotel in South Korea? I'm like, yeah. So what? There's like, what? You're really prepping a show in a hotel? I was like, yeah. Okay, what are you doing for cardio? I'm just running on the spot, man. What can I do? I'm only stuck in this room. I can't leave. So I thought, fuck it. The only way I can do cardio is jog on the spot like we used to do back in school days. Like, okay, And I was like, what about training? I was like, well, I got bands. I got bands and whatnot. I can grab it, and I'm improvising on my workout, doing handstands and doing whatever I can to just keep the muscle there and everything else. And it's like, what about your food? I'm like, well, I brought as much food as I can, but the rest of it, I'm just improvising, trying to make it work. At this point, I'm pretty much surviving on white rice and eggs, So it was absolutely, I think it was absolutely absurd and just crazy. And then obviously, what happened, Fuad, then he had the podcast and everything else. And he reached out to me and he said, like, he was like, I just heard the craziest story that you're really in the room in South Korea 2 weeks out from a show. And you're prepping in this room and doing all these things to stay here. I'm like, yeah. He's like, I got to have you on the channel. I got to do an interview with you. So we did an interview over there, and I basically told him the situation and showed him exactly what's been going on and what everything has been happening. He was just in disbelief. And he goes like, why? I was like, because I want this. I'm like, I want to do this. This is like whatever it takes, right? He's like, we all say, do whatever it takes, do whatever it takes. But I'm like, but do we really do it when push comes to shove? It's nice to say it when everything is great and your life is fine, but when you really are not fine and shit is falling apart, are you really gonna do whatever it takes? And for me, this was my do whatever it takes moment. It's like, well, it's not just a nice phrase to say when you feel do whatever. I'm like, no, genuinely do what it takes. So for me, this is my moment. This is like, well, if I can get this done 2 weeks, I can win the show and go home and qualify for the Olympia. This is it. Well, this is what it really takes. So he was all crazy and impressed with that. So I did the interview, and then afterwards, I think the next day the interview went out, and he called me up and he goes, "Look, people are just losing their minds. They just can't believe the audacity and the strength that you have to do this stuff thing, like to be in the room for 14 days by yourself and quarantine and stuff." And he was saying to me like, "Oh, Sam, like, are you signed to any company? Like, are you on the sponsorship?" And I was like, "No, man." I was like, "And you remember when you quarantine South Korea, you pay for it yourself. It's not. They don't do it for free." So I'm like, "Nah, man. This is all me. This is all my savings. This is everything I'm doing to get this done." And he was such in shock about it. And he was like, "You know what? The whole idea of Hostile, the whole idea of this company was that mentality. It's people that are willing to do whatever it takes to really achieve their goal." And he goes, "Bro, right now you embody that perfectly. And I really want you on my team." So I was like, for me, this is like years. I've already given up the idea some time back about the idea of ever even having a sponsor. Like for me, I was like, well, I'm going to keep working and doing this and get to the Olympia. I'll still be working full time. So for me, it's already sort of cemented in my head that, well, this is my life. I'm just going to work full time and do bodybuilding and get to the top. I don't care. So the idea of looking for a sponsor was like, yeah, if it comes, it comes. If it doesn't come, hell, I'm just going to keep doing it anyway. So when he obviously offers that, I'm completely stunned and taken back and like, what? Like, are you serious? Are you genuinely asking me like you want to sponsor me like that? And he was like, "Yo, bro, yeah, I do. I think that you're gonna do something great in this sport, and I think that you definitely gonna stand for something in this sport. So yeah." And right away, I was like, "Yeah, let's go." I'm like, yeah, I was like, "Yo, I ain't gonna say no." So that's how we sort of met. And since then, he's just been that guy that enforced me. He's always giving me advice, especially in the bodybuilding industry where I don't know so much about the ins and out of. He's been able to direct me and say, "Okay, right, make sure you do this, make sure you do that, make sure you have this," even when it comes to training, diet, everything, I can always call him up and say, "Hey, like, do you know about this? What do you think? What's your thoughts on this?" And he was always able to sort of give me the right advice all through. So for me, since that relationship was something that was formed in the most weirdest time of my life, but it's ended up being one of the most powerful relationships I've ever had.
They said that you meet your real friends in real trouble.
Oh, yes, definitely.
You couldn't. Now, that's just like last question, but
yeah.
Can anything really stop you after this, all that happened to you? Can anything stop you?
And this is why I smile, people like, when people say, "Oh man, we don't know if he's going to be, we don't know he's going to be that." I'm like, well, maybe you need to just sit back and watch, because you must not know me very well, because I don't stop for anything. I'm not stopping. I'm not backing. I'm not even slowing down. If anything, I just feel like I'm getting started. So for me, it's like, nah, I'm not stopping. I said, I wanted to make it to Olympia. I said I want to be top 10. Now I'm saying I want to win the Olympia. And I'm like, I'm going to keep going until I do. There's nothing going to back me down, nothing going to stop me for it. And I really, really believe that, because for every single time I've had a vision, I've had a dream, I've had a goal, and I've worked my ass off for it, sooner or later, it always happens. It always happens, and he always surpasses it. So I'm like, look, aim higher and higher each time. You know that if you keep working, you don't stop working. So raise your goal up, raise the goal, raise the target up. And every single time you hit it, so raise it up again. So for me, it's like, yep, I'm going to keep going, and I will become Mr. Olympia. And it's just a matter of time.
So it's just a matter of time. But until then, follow Samson's YouTube, because he started, and there are quite few nice already productions with are you using still the drone? Because
yes. I love using the drone, man. Yeah.
I remember when you started using it, you were like a little child, like with it.
That's even so much fun, man. I swear to God, it's like some like little childish toy, but when you're using it, like, ooh, this is exciting, man. I have a lot of fun with that. So yes, I use that all the time.
So in the description, you're going to have all of the links to the Instagram and the YouTube. So please leave subscription, share, like, and subscribe. Thank you, Samson, so much, and wishing you all the best in that note. That's all I can say. And you guys have patience and keep watching.
Thanks, man. Thank you.